All right, hey Lord of Life, welcome to the first of our brand new online Facebook Live Lent devotionals. I'm Pastor David here in our building in front of our brand new sign here, just waiting to share some great stuff about this Lenten season with you. But first, we've got a couple announcements. One, because this is a Facebook Live, we want this to be an interactive process. So as you are watching this video, I've got my media specialist, Carrie Kessler, here with me. She's going to be monitoring those comments and following along. So if you've got questions, if you've got concerns, if you've got joys or sorrows that you want to lift up, prayer concerns, whatever it might be that's on your mind, be sure to drop those in the comments so that we can allow that to be a part of this time. So we really know that we're being devoted together. This isn't just a time for me to share what's on my mind, though I'm certainly going to do that. But no, it's a time for us to be in faith together. Kind of like we talked about in our first midweek worship last night, that we are sharing our life together as people of this story. A couple announcements as we begin. Hey, don't forget, we've got worship happening every Sunday in the building and online, wherever you want to find it. It's there for you, you and your family to enjoy. We've got this Sunday coming up, our first in-person children's Sunday school. So if you have a student between the age of 3 and 4th grade, we realize 4th grade is not an age, but the age of 3 and 4th grade, bring them between 9 or at 9 o'clock, or join us online, also on our Facebook Live, to join our first in-person Sunday school lesson starting at 9 a.m. this Sunday. We also want to remind you about some collections that we've got going on through this Lenten season. We're collecting food for the Montgomery County Food Bank. You can bring that up to the church. We're collecting Lutheran World Relief fabric kits, and you can find all that information on our website as well as in the Realm group. And we're also doing a collection for God's Global Barnyard. That's the one that our kids make that collection for our Easter egg hunt every year, and they're able to buy some animals for families around the world who are in need, whether it's a cow or a pig or chickens, honeybees, all sorts of great stuff. So things happening there. If you are a family with young kids, we've got Lent bags still available here at the church with all sorts of activities you can be doing throughout this Lenten season. Man, what else am I forgetting? Carrie, am I forgetting other stuff? We're good. Okay, so those are all of the incredible opportunities that we've got just in this Lenten season, and we are just thrilled to have you joining us as we move through this time. Now, one of the things that kind of spurred this conversation, I want to give you some background so you know why we're doing this, because otherwise it's just Pastor David popping into your news feed for some unknown reason, right? We know that this is a weird time. Lent is always kind of a weird time, but it's an especially weird time because we're not able to be together the way that we would normally want to be together, right? We're trying, we're getting close, we hope, more and more of us are able to be getting the vaccine. We hope we're moving in the right direction, but we're still just at this place where we're not able to be together the way we want to. And so we hope that these devotionals, which are going to be coming to you every Tuesday and Thursday for the rest of Lent, right at about 3 p.m. every afternoon, we hope that this is a time for you to connect with our staff who will be sharing these devotionals with you, and also for a chance for you to connect with one another. So to connect with those who are leaving comments, who are leaving prayer requests, who are leaving questions that we can circle back to in future devotionals. So we hope that this is a time for us as a community to be able to come back together in this season where we celebrate being together so desperately, and yet we're still trying very hard to remain in that appropriate social distance. And so that's where we're coming from this Lenten season. Now, our theme for these devotionals as we move through this year is, how are you experiencing Lent? Right? I know it might seem like a strange theme. It's a strange thing to ask, well, how am I experiencing Lent? Well, I experience it the same way I always do, but we all know there are intricacies, right? There are differences this year than last year, and then the year before, and the year before that. Every Lent is a little bit different. So how are you experiencing this Lent? Right? Because sometimes we assume that Lent is supposed to be a certain thing. We assume Lent is supposed to be sad, or Lent is supposed to be all about, thinking about how terrible we are as people and how much we need God's love. And it's all about thinking only about how Jesus is going to die on the cross. And those are all good and important things, and that might be part of your Lenten experience. But maybe this Lent, maybe you just received your second COVID vaccine. Maybe you're just overjoyed that you feel safe for the first time in a year. Maybe your family has gone through something really challenging and you're coming out the other side and you're just rejoicing that your family is still together. Maybe your family's been apart and you're finally reunited. Right? There might be all sorts of reasons that we might be celebrating during this Lenten season, or we might be grieving. But all of these are the experiences of Lent that we want to share together. So if you're watching with us right now, or if you're watching this later on, drop a line in the comments. Let us know, how are you experiencing this Lent? Because that's what we're going to be sharing with you. We're going to be taking the time to share our experiences of this Lenten season, to let you know what we're dealing with, what we're celebrating and struggling with, so that we can continue to connect with one another, and we want to connect with you too. So how are you experiencing this Lenten season? What are the joys and the concerns and the sorrows that you're lifting up in these weeks as we move towards the cross and move towards the empty tomb? Now for me, Lent has always been a special time of year, because I remember as a kid, it was this weird time. I didn't understand what we were doing as a kid, right? What kid does, but it was a weird time where we got to go to church, we got to have soup, which was okay. I wasn't a huge soup kid, so if there was tomato soup, I was good, but I was missing the grilled cheese sandwich. But otherwise, we got to go, and we got to have dinner, and then we got to do all these extra special services, right? There's cool lights that were happening, and new colors that came out, and the pastors were wearing different robes, and there was crosses and candles, and all this crazy stuff going on. It was a really exciting time. And then I remember I was in 6th grade. I was in middle school. And I was having a conversation with a friend of mine who was Catholic. And it was Ash Wednesday, and they'd already been to Mass that morning, so they came to school with their little cross on their head. And I was going to church in the evening, and they said, well, this year for Lent, I'm giving up chocolate. I'm like, giving up chocolate? What are you talking about? Why are you giving up anything? Why are we giving something up for Lent? What does this even mean? And so they started telling me, for Lent, you have to give something up. Jesus tells everybody to give something up for Lent. That was their 6th grade explanation. I can vouch, Jesus does not tell us to give something up for Lent, but that's another conversation. So I started thinking, okay, I'm in middle school. Oh, maybe I should be giving things up for Lent. Maybe that should be part of my process. And so I started, gave up chocolate one year. I gave up soda pop one year. I was like, oh, well, I'm going to, cut down on how much sugar stuff I eat. All this stuff that we do, that we try to do to make ourselves get into this season. What I realized when I got into college, when I started studying Lent, when I started studying what it means to kind of be a part of this faith, I realized that I was just way, way off base. See, this thing that I was trying to do is rooted in this idea of fasting, right? That's the whole notion of giving something up for Lent. It's rooted in this idea of fasting. And the problem is that we typically look to fasting and we start to think, oh, well, that means that I have to suffer. I have to give something up so that I suffer appropriately, so that everybody can see how painful my body is, how much I'm sacrificing for Jesus. That's supposed to be this beautiful thing. Maybe you've had an experience like that too. Maybe take a minute and drop us a line in the comments. Let us know something that you've gone through where you're like, yeah, I remember a time when I felt like I was supposed to be suffering, or I remember someone telling me I was supposed to give something up in order to make me more faithful. Right? We've heard those stories. And I had a professor share with me what their experience of fasting was. And they said, fasting isn't about making myself sacrifice. Fasting is about taking away those things that are distracting me from God, that are preventing me from realizing that God is in my midst. The whole notion of fasting from food, right? That's where fasting comes from originally. We fast from food for a period of time. The whole notion of that is that food itself is something that we can use to distract ourselves from God, right? We have an insatiable hunger within us, and we try to fill that with food, whether that's steak or potato chips or pasta, whatever it might be, right? We try to fill that hunger, and what we're really longing for is God. And sometimes it's only when we allow ourselves to put down those things that we're trying to fill that hunger with that we can make space to see where God has always been at work. And so giving up chocolate isn't about sacrificing myself or sacrificing my love of chocolate. It's about realizing chocolate might be that thing that I'm trying to fill myself with, and I'm missing filling it with God. And so maybe the thing that we need to think about it is not just food. Maybe it's time on a cell phone. Maybe it's time with technology. Maybe it's a certain person who's distracting us, or a certain relationship that's preventing us from experiencing God in the way we want to. Right, what are those places? And you can let us know this too. What are those places where you're struggling right now? Where I want to be experiencing God here. I want to be experiencing God in this place. But something's distracting me. Something's holding us back. See, that's what fasting is all about. And it's taken me a long time to really understand this, that fasting is about turning my attention back to God. And that's what this Lenten season has become for me. Not just about fasting to give things up, but about finding places to turn my attention back to God. Because let me just tell you, the last year has had a lot of distractions. You've been aware of most of them, right? We've got a pandemic going on. We've had a retirement of a senior pastor here at the church. We've got all sorts of stuff happening. Lots of great things that need our attention and our focus. But a lot of it is simply distracting us from the reality that God is in our midst. That God is still working in us and through us and around us every single day. And so for me, this Lenten season is all a fast. It's not a fast from food. It's not a fast from chocolate or from soda like it was in middle school. It's not even a fast from a particular habit. It's a fast from not paying attention to the ways God is working in my life. It's a fast that forces me to look for God. Look for God in the midst of everything that I'm doing. And that might sound like a strange fast, but it's a fast that's been helpful for me. And so I don't know what your Lent has been like so far. Maybe you're sitting here thinking, Pastor Dave, that's crazy. I see God all the time. I don't need to fast from that. That's fine. I'm okay with being crazy. This is my experience, and we want to hear your experience. So share your experience with us. Drop us a line, again, in the comments. Send us an email, pastordavid@lordoflifeonline.org, Lord of Life office or something, office at Lord of Life Online. Oh, there's another one out there. You know the email addresses. Let us know how you are experiencing this Lenten season. We want to hear from you. One of the things we miss most as a staff is that time to just fellowship with you all after and between worship services to say, how's it going? How is your life? What's new? What's happening? We desperately miss that time with you. And so let us know how things are going so that we can be in prayer for you, so that we can share these experiences together, so that we can be sharing our lives in faith together. So we're going to be here every Tuesday and Thursday, so you can watch for us next Tuesday at 3 p.m. Right here in your Facebook feed. We're going to be in the group. We're probably going to be sharing it on our business page as well. If you want to share this video out for others, please, please, please feel free to do so. Like it, comment on it, leave your questions, whatever you've got. Let us know so that this can be a time when we are moving together through this season of Lent so that we can all know that whatever experience we are having, it is the experience that God intends us to have. And it's the experience that brings us back. I've got a message from my media relations specialist. I might have changed your title. I don't know. What do we got, Gary?
All right. In the last few years, I was introduced to the idea of adding something for Lent.
Introduced to that?
Robbie.
Okay, Robbie. All right, Robbie, thank you so much for your comment. So in the last few years, we were introduced to adding something for Lent?
Yes, adding something for Lent instead of taking away. That was meaningful to her.
Yeah, adding something is a great option. And that's it kind of sounds like the opposite of fasting, but the principle is the same, Robbie. And so I love that. And if that's meaningful for you, I hope that you can continue to share that with others, right? Because the principle of fasting, right, if we kind of think back to this, every time I'm hungry, if I'm fasting, every time I'm hungry, I use that as an opportunity to turn myself back to God, right? So my hunger becomes that which drives me back to God. And the same thing is true if we're adding something into our life. And so if we want to pick up a habit during the season, if we want to pick up daily devotional reading, if we want to pick up a daily prayer or taking 1 minute out of every hour to pray, use that time to turn our focus back to God. Absolutely, Robbie. I'm so glad that that's something that's been meaningful for you. I hope that others will continue to share their experiences and ways that this has been meaningful for them also. I think that's all that we've got for today, so we're going to go ahead and wrap up. We will see you next Tuesday, 3 o'clock, every Tuesday and Thursday at 3 o'clock for the rest of the season. Until next time, God loves each of you, and I do too. God bless.